Okay, there it goes. Alright, good early morning. It's Saturday, July 18th, 6:30 a.m. Tower's not even open for another hour. Want to get out and fly for a couple of reasons. I want to be early because it's Saturday and it's going to be busy. It's also going to be very hot. Apparently Ohio has shifted down to central Florida, and we have had 90-plus degree days for, I don't know, day after day after day. And of course the humidity and all that makes it feels like 99, depending on your age. To me, it feels like 199. So anyway, a lot to talk about. It's been a long time since I did a video. I was frustrated, if you recall, by the audio hum. I actually missed out on a flight that I really would have liked to have recorded, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Hopefully, this is coming to you nice and clear now, because I did break down, took a risk, spent $45 on a cable that has an audio filter in it that is supposed to filter out some of the noise of the engine, which I think was the problem I was having. So I won't know until I get back home. I'm just hoping it's working, or at least working somewhat better. Big news, I think, is yesterday my second grandson finally came home from the hospital. They were born on June 15th. That was a month ago. The first one came home, I think, roughly a week ago, and then Jace, that's Jack, and Jace was able to come home yesterday. And being 7 weeks early, there's things that they're just not ready for. So they're very cautious about when you can bring the child home and things of that nature. So we've met both of my grandsons now. They're actually, the second one was mildly anticlimactic because when it comes to twins, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. That's not. I'm just joking. They're great little. I'm a little nervous holding them. I haven't held a baby for 27 years, and they're just so small. And basically, I have somebody put them in my lap, and I'll just hold them there. I'm afraid to move them around. I'm just horribly afraid that I'm going to do some damage to the poor little kids. But very excited to have them at home. You can also see, this is the big change, this metal strip. I don't know if you can see the shade up here. This is what's called a Cougar sunshade, and they're really a necessity for the Vans airplanes. I have wanted one for at least 14 years. I just wouldn't spend the $200+ to get one. One of them came up used. I paid $85 for it. I still think that's a little rich, but I'm so happy to have it. So won't make much difference today. The sun is actually going to be right in my eyes, but it makes a huge difference in an airplane like this, where you're basically sitting, you're sitting in a greenhouse, really. So that's news. A lot of work been done on the airplane. Just yesterday, I had to replace a canopy strut. There's two lift struts, they're little hydraulic struts, and they have plastic fittings on the end. And actually, when you install the things, they come with, I think, it's less than, I think they call it 17. Well, you have to drill them out, is the point. It's a 3/8" bolt that holds it to the airplane, and you have to drill out the small hole that comes in that plastic fitting. And as you're doing that, you're removing a lot of strength. And I have 355 hours on that thing. One of them just snapped. So I had to order them from Vans. I ordered the strut replacement kit. It was $48, which I thought was a lot of money for a single strut. But I was, I guess I should have paid more attention to the word kit. It was actually two struts, which is nice. And I had to go drill the 3/8" hole in them. And the first thing I noticed when I was drilling that hole is that those pieces are no longer plastic, they're metal. So that should be the last time I ever have to do that. I did have a little delamination on the side. The fiberglass part of the canopy is epoxy to the metal frame of the canopy. That one had broken loose, so I did have to take the entire canopy off and work on that. Fixed a few other things while I was at it. Repainted the floorboards. They get really dirty with my shoes and such forth. So we're test flying the canopy today, which should be pretty low risk. I do have a story. This is the story I alluded to before that I really wish I could have recorded. Flew down to Jackson County to visit a friend down there, another RV-12 owner. He's also my AOPA regional rep. We flew down there to visit. It was me and Major Doe, who's the commander of our squadron. And on the way back out, so when I fly with Joe, and I do it myself now, and I'll do it once I'm in the air, we monitor 121.5. That's something Joe taught me to do. Because of things you can hear like people transmitting accidentally, and you can alert them that they're on what they call the guard frequency, or you can hear ELTs. And departing out of Jackson County, dialed up 121.5. Joe was in the left seat. I was in the right seat. There was an ELT going off, and it was a very strong signal. So first thought was it was right at the airport we had just left. I mean, the trick with an ELT, you don't know where it's coming from unless you're in a Civil Air Patrol plane. They have an instrument called a Becker, and it's basically an ADF for ELTs. It just points. You just follow. Well, it's trickier than it sounds, but you just follow the arrow until you find the ELT. Well, we didn't have one of those. But I think the week before, I had finished up what's called observer training. There's 3 positions in a Civil Air Patrol airplane. There's the mission commander, who's often the pilot, but not always. There's an observer who is a co-pilot, but is not really required to be an actual pilot. It's the observer does a lot of the just radio talk and just all the stuff that goes into flying a mission. Part of that training, they talked about the Becker, but they also talked about a way to locate or at least get a general direction of the ELT without a Becker. And the way that works is a comm antenna is almost always on the belly of an airplane. What you do is you hear the ELT, you roll yourself into a bank, and we were climbing through about 3,500 heading for 4,500, and I told Joe, hey, give me a bank to the left, let's do a 360. And as the airplane comes around, as the comm antenna gets on the other side of the ELT, you will lose the signal. It'll just go dead. So as we came around, the signal went dead. So I had to look to where the antennas were, which in this case, they were on the other side of the LT. All I had to do was look up. So I looked up, and it was off to the side, of course, and there was Jackson County Airport. So we were pretty sure that's where it was. It was close to just after the top of the hour. You're allowed to do a ELT test the first 5 minutes after the top of the hour, but you're only allowed to let it do like whoop, whoop, whoop 3 times. So we made sure it wasn't somebody testing. We tried to call Dayton Radio. We were not high enough up, but they could hear us, but we could not hear them. And we just kept climbing. We got up to about 6,500 feet, and it got to where we could put in a report. So we reported the ELT. We told them we believed very strongly that it was at Jackson County. The signal was decreasing as we flew away from it. So they passed it on to the Air Force. The Air Force passed it on to actually our squadron, and Civil Air Patrol came down and actually found or proved that the ELT was in fact at Jackson County. They were able to get in touch with the airport manager. He talked to a mechanic that had been working on an airplane. He says, that might have been me. They went out there and took a look, and they found it, and they turned off the ELT. So the neat thing about that is, in the Civil Air Patrol, if you participate in the finding of an ELT, a live ELT, whether it's a distress or non-distress, you get what's called a find. And with your first find, you get a ribbon that you can wear. It's a military ribbon you would wear on your blue uniform. But the neat thing is, the airplane you were in when you did the find is also allowed to wear the ribbon in the form of a decal. So my airplane, my RV-12, is going to have a Civil Air Patrol find ribbon emblazoned on its cowl, which I think is pretty damn neat. So that was really an interesting thing. I think that's a great story. It really, I felt really proud about it, to be honest. I mean, you put a lot of training. I still have not flown a Civil Air Patrol airplane. But you put a lot of effort into the training, and I remember it was an online class. It was 4 nights, I think 3 hours at a time, and we're going through this thing. It's called a wing null procedure. Wing nulls out the signal, and I'm sitting there thinking, we got a Becker. What is the point of this? And now I know. So chatter. Today I'm just flying. I'm going to get a direct tube back to here just so I don't have to worry about it later. I just won't get lost. It'd be really hard to get lost, but it's nice to have something in there. I was going to turn on ForeFlight, but I kind of forgot. I don't really need it, but I do like to have it on just because. Got a $100 a year investment in it, if nothing else. So I think that's everything there was to know. I really need to get busy with the pre-flight here. I'm going to do my run-up and all that, and I'll turn this thing back on in just a few minutes. Okay, well, we don't have, I don't think I have weather yet. Pardon my coughing, I've been mowing, and it just tears up it lays havoc on my hay fever is what I was looking for. So map, info, let's see if we got the weather yet. We do not, so I'm going to go with the typical 920 to 930 that it usually maps to when I do have the altimeter. That'll be close enough for now. It should come in any minute now. I can get a better setting. Tower's not here, so this is now an uncontrolled field, so I just self-announce and go. We're going to head out west, that's what we always do. Probably just drive the airplane around a little bit because it's such a beautiful morning and it's been a while since I've flown. I don't anticipate any problems with the canopy coming off or anything like that, but I do like, anytime I have worked on the airplane significantly, I do like to fly it alone before I take anybody with me. That's just an abundance of caution. I want to make sure the ForeFlight or the iPad clears that stick. It does. So I believe we're ready to go. Hold traffic, experimental 284 Delta Golf, departing runway 22 to the west, hold traffic. And there's nobody here. And we'll fly over to the house, wake up the wife. It sounds like a damn thing sounds like a leaf blower as you're standing on the ground, so probably cause a lot of ruckus. But we'll be pretty high up by then because it's just me, all of 500 feet. Oh, another piece of news, my book is live. I may have mentioned that in the last video. Sound like Mangusters. I think I've sold 40 copies. I could actually retire now. That's a joke. Here we go. And we're off. Max climb. 60 knots. 1,000 foot per minute. I got full gas, so I got a full tank back there. So 65 knots, 1,000 feet per minute, and very clear. Well, there's a haze. There is a haze layer, but that's at least 10 miles. And we'll be at pattern altitude before I even get to the end of the runway. That just keeps climbing a ladder. 1,200 foot per minute now. Look at that thing go. You're probably just seeing nothing but sky, right? That's all I'm seeing is panel and sky. And there's pattern altitude. And where are we in relation to the runway? Just off of the runway.
Traffic.
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's me. My self-aware ADS-B. All right, let's break on out to the west here. All right, well, I'm stooging around here. Really, this is primarily a test of this new audio cable. If this does not significantly improve the quality of the recording, I just don't know what to do. But I guess I'll continue to record even if the audio is bad, because like I said, I really, really wish I had that ELT find. I really wish I had that had recorded that. We do have a meeting on Monday. It's going to come up. We're going to talk a lot about it was somewhat unique way of actually finding the ELT on, and then the response from the Air Force, and then the response from the Civil Air Patrol, and how all that worked out. So would have been really, really nice to have the video. So I'm hoping this works, but I'm just going to fly around a little bit and maybe crank this thing up a little bit later. Alright, I'm testing this with the shade down, even though I don't really need it now, just to see how much it constricts my visibility. And it does to some degree if I'm looking for traffic above me, but if it's that high up, it's probably not much of a factor. I think I'll get used to this pretty quickly. Heading out to Madison Lake because it's out here. And, I've been wanting a fishing boat. I had an old canoe that I used with my friend Rick. It's a 17-foot long canoe. Pretty useless once he moved out to Arizona, so I sold that. And I found a nice little plastic 12-foot fishing boat used. Has a nice little 2.6 horsepower 4-cycle outboard on it, and of course I already had an electric trolling motor for the lakes that only allow electric, and I had a fish finder. So it's got some very nice seat back cushion seats on it, and I took that out. I don't really catch fish. I try. I mean, I'll put a hook in the water, but I really just like being on the water. And I took it out here to Madison Lake, and it's at its deepest, maybe 4 feet. I don't know if there's a fish in the damn lake, but it's so quiet. Once I get up north, away from where the park reaches, and there's just nobody else up there but wildlife. And I had a real moment there. I was sitting in the boat, and a blue heron flew by, maybe 3 feet off the water, maybe 10, 15 feet away. Honk, honk, honk. So you could hear the air from his wings flapping as he just flew right across next to me. And that right there was worth the price of the boat. I mean, it's just, I could sit out there for hours, really. So happy to have that. That's been another little project, getting it outfitted, getting ropes on it, because I have to launch it alone. I needed something that I could do alone, or something that I can bring another person. Launching a boat with 2 people is a lot easier than launching a boat with 1 person. Basically, I have to put it in the water, back the truck up, put it in the water, and I tied off the bow to the little cleats on the side. Well, that did nothing to keep it from just floating away from the dock, so I've got a couple ropes now on the actually, there's nothing to really tie the ropes to on the side of the boat, but it's called a rowboat, although I doubt if anybody rows it. So it has little fittings to put oar locks in there. I just went to Lowe's and bought some big eye bolts, stainless steel eye bolts, and I just set those in there. That's what I use if I'm strapping it to the trailer so it doesn't fall off the trailer. I use those bolts because I don't want to compress it sideways. It's a plastic boat. That'll break the plastic or squeeze the plastic. So I just dropped those eye bolts in there, and that turned out to be a really good place to tie these ropes. So I can tie off the bow, pull in the side, and tie that off, go put the truck away, and then come back, and my boat's still sitting there, and it's not blocking the ramp if somebody else wants to use it. So I'll take it to Hargis one of these days, probably not today. I'll have to go early in the morning, and I've already spent this morning. Hargis is about a 45-minute drive. It's in a park called A.W. Marion, and it's the only place I've ever caught a fish. So I figure that's the only place I've ever caught a fish. It's the only place I'm ever going to catch a fish. It's a nice big lake. It's electric only, which I prefer. The trolling motor will pull the boat at maybe 2-3 miles per hour. The outboard can't push it any faster than 5 or 6 because the boat is a barge. That's just how fast it will go. So I like Hargis because it's electric only, and the reason I like electric only is you don't have the high-powered boats speeding back and forth, creating a big long wake, and all just making a bunch of noise. And I mean, they have every right to be on the lake if it's a unlimited horsepower lake. I have no problem with that. Doesn't mean I like it. Means I'll just go someplace where I can have a nice little bit of quiet. I'm not saying I won't take it to a bigger lake, but there is a cost to the big horsepower. So I'll do that eventually, and you know, I actually don't care if I catch a fish or don't. I actually hate catching a fish because I hate touching them. you got to get the hook out of them and all that. But like I said, I like the process. I really don't care about the result. So things are looking good. I'm having a pretty good time. So I'm going to shut this off. Well, actually, what I'm going to do, this is what a null. So when we did this wing null, let's say that's Madison County right over there, and I think there's an ELT, and it is Madison County right over there. So I can turn off the autopilot. And what I would do is, I'm hearing weep, 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 and I would roll into a bank steep enough to really block the antennas. And as I come around here, as I'm about 180 degrees off, that weep, weep, weep would just go dead. And then I would just look up and see what's on the other side, and there's Madison County. So that lets me know the direction. It doesn't tell me the distance. It doesn't prove that it's Madison County. But it's an indication. It really narrows down the search. So, I mean, it's a very simple thing to do. It's almost, once, if you understand the theory, it's so easy to do. It's almost intuitive. But, you know, it was just something I wouldn't have known if I hadn't taken that training, and I really would not have been listening. Actually, I should be doing it now. I can put on 121.5, and I can press the monitor button. And that's not it. That's the monitor button. I don't like to bring it live because I'm afraid I'll be the guy that's transmitting on it. But see, you get a little static now and then, so it can be irritating. So I don't know what's causing that. And that can actually become quite irritating. So maybe that's my radio, maybe that's just the way it works. Maybe I could turn down the volume, etc., etc. But that is a habit I'm trying to get into, but like I said, I don't like that staticky sound. I can try to narrow that down. So in any event, I'm going to get back to my flying. I should probably add that it doesn't normally do this. It doesn't normally do that. So there is something possibly transmitting on the signal that's too far away for me to get the actual audio. I don't know, but it's not normally this annoying. A little update on the shade. So when I turn left, I can still see very well. That's the beauty of this. The low wing in particular, it doesn't come down and obstruct your view like a high wing does. Well, that's what this is doing now. So when I roll into a right-hand turn, my wing goes away, but right about here, the horizon is blocked. And right around here, everything is blocked. So I can see that as kind of a downside. I mean, not huge, and I can easily, I mean, it's this easy to move away. You can just slide it back. So it's not that big of a deal, but it is something, it'll take a little getting used to. We're heading back east. We're right into the sun, and if I slouch down, this isn't far enough. The sun is right in my eyes, but I can actually just stretch myself out a little bit, and it actually does block the sun a little bit, which is nice. Now, it wouldn't work, obviously, if it was right down on the horizon. I don't think there's much can be done about that, and, you know, I've lived with that for years, so that's nothing new. But I really, I'm so happy to have this thing. Guy that had it, he'd accidentally bought two of them or somehow inherited one. I don't really know how he got it. His name is Phil Boyer, and I think pretty sure he used to be president of AOPA or something like that. I've not met the guy. I do want to meet him. I do believe he's local. I'd like to meet him because I want to thank him profusely for this. This is a life changer. Having one now and experience it, would I pay $220 for it? I still can't say that I would. I just can't say I would, but $85, yeah, it's worth it. It took like an hour to install. I mean, there's just this little metal channel that goes in here. It has double-sided tape, which we'll probably let go at some point in the future. I mean, double-sided tape. It's good as long as it works. When it doesn't work, you just replace it. So it's very straightforward to install. Nothing to it at all. I think it took an hour just because I was trying to be... I ran a string from the pitot tube up here. I wanted a center line. I wanted to make sure I got this mostly on the center line. I doubt if I did it perfectly. I never do. I've always lived with a little bit of... But yeah, absolutely thrilled to have it. So as we approach Bolton, I have to remind myself that the tower is not open. I want to land on 2-2 because that's obviously the spot. I don't need to land on 2-2. I could land on 4 and land long. But I'm going to land 2-2 because I need to force myself to remember this. Now I live right next door to Bolton. I see what happens after 7:30 p.m. People like me are so in the habit of flying right traffic to runway 22 when approaching from the west that they go ahead and do it with the tower closed. It's not right. When the tower is closed, it reverts to being an uncontrolled airport, and in an uncontrolled airport, the standard traffic pattern is left. So what you need to do is cross over 22 for a left downwind, not make that first turn into a right downwind. And I caught myself thinking, well, I'm going to go 22, and I'm going to make my right downwind. I thought, no, that's wrong. So I almost did it again. I mean, even knowing that, I almost did it myself. So that's an interesting thing to try to remember, and I do see it a lot. I see it a whole lot. And, you know, I guess it's not that big of a deal, but this time of year when it's light until well after 9 p.m., a lot of people are flying in the evenings, particularly when it's been as hot as it's been. And that can cause a problem. If everybody's doing it, the whole point of the traffic pattern is people know where you should be. They know where to look for you. And the people that are doing it correctly could be a little bit surprised to come nose to nose with somebody on base lag. So I try to refresh myself on these things as much as possible. Almost made a mistake today. Remembered it, well, not the last minute, but I did remember it. So that's what's going to happen. I'm 5 miles out, and I'm going to give them a call. There's no traffic, but I'm going to get a call anyway, right? So I'll wake you up again for the landing just because they're fun to watch. I changed my mind about a midfield crosswind. I'm going to fly over my house again. Why not, right? Oh, it's so pretty out here. The crops are in, which is not wonderful if you need a big open field to land in, but it makes everything green. The trees are green. We've not had a lot of rain. My yard is brown. There's big cracks like this in the actual dirt. Well, it's clay where I live, but everything else is pretty green, and I do like the green. I miss it in the winter. So we're 3 miles out. So I'm just going to I'll call left crosswind just as we're entering it. Still quite silent here. Let's get down to pattern altitude. I got another 600 to go to get to pattern altitude. Hold traffic, 4 Delta Golf, 2 miles west, going to left crosswind, runway 22, hold field. And there's 1800, which is good enough for now. 1704 is pattern altitude. That's 1720 on here. It's the only number that even comes close, but I'm still in a little bit of a descent. There's 1720 right there. sight. Really hard to tell from that direction. They're not talking if they're out here. That's enough. Now slow her down.
Hold traffic, 4 Delta Golf, left down, runway 22, hold.
There's flap speed. There's flicker vertigo. Might as well get the flaps down while we're thinking about it. Well, there's a car here and a hangar door open, so somebody's going to come out soon. Get an early start on the weekends. It's kind of crowded. People are flying. I mean, over the last few years, it seemed like nobody was flying anymore, but they're definitely flying now. I'm happy to see it. I mean, I try to avoid the crowd, but I'm happy that that's actually an issue. You run out of people flying, you run out of funding for airports, and I like having an airport. Alrighty, we don't want to turn base quite yet. As soon as I can aim at the soybean field here. There we go. Not much of a crowd at Lowe's yet either. Lowe's has been just crazy packed. Every time I go there, there's just huge crowd there. People have time apparently. I don't know how much of this is still this COVID thing, but well, I guess I'm kind of used to things not being crowded during the day. Once I retired, everybody else is at work. Civil Air Patrol is actually flying again. I will get to start training soon. Their priority, and this is absolutely correct, is to get the mission capable pilots, get them current first so we can fly missions. So I understand that I'm a low priority, but it's coming. I'm going to be flying those planes soon. Well, I turned final way too early.
And hold traffic, 284 Delta Golf, final runway 22, hold.
There we go. Hardly any wind to speak of. What there is, well, there is. There's 10 knots right down the runway, though. It's right down the runway. So there is some wind. Yeah, a little bit of a crosswind, too. We're going a little bit right to left. And we're aiming for the white bars. We want to touch down on the white bars. Right on them. There you go. Hold that nose wheel up, holding it up, holding it up. There it goes. That was sweet. Alright, well that's it for today. Again, I hope you were able to hear all this. I guess I'll post it one way or the other because, I apologize if the audio sucks, but I've made an honest effort to fix it. I like doing the videos. I don't want to stop. So anyway, thanks for riding along if you in fact did. Hoping to see you on the next video.